Now we're doing FreeCodeCamp Legacy Python for everybody. Data visualization, mailing lists. It's the last video. With this one, we will be done with the main part of all with the lectures of Python for everybody. We started this in June. It's October 22nd today. Woo! 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 My goodness. But I'm a lot more confident about Python now than I was then. That being said, let's get to it so we can knock this thing out and get to the next thing. Make sure you got your notes out and let's go.
The last visual.
Whoa! As usual. I'm going to miss it, Dr. Chuck. I'm going to miss it, Chuckles. I'm so not going to miss this. But whatever. Mailing lists, Gmail. Pardon me. And I know we have this because I've seen this plenty of times in the Visual Studio. Right here, Gmail right there. All right, so we know we got that. All right, so let's type this stuff out. That's what we were doing, but let's do it anyway. All right, so we're going to crawl the archive of a mailing list. Okay. We're going to do some analysis / cleanup. Okay. We're going to visualize the data as word, cloud, okay, and lines. Okie dokie. Let's see what he's talking about.
The last visualization application that we're going to take a look at is mailing lists, and that's kind of ironic. We started with the mailing lists, and we're going to end with the mailing list.
How is that ironic, Dr. Chuck?
The mailing lists, of course, are...
How is that ironic? Wouldn't it be more poetic than ironic?
From my open source Sakai project, which I love and very proud of, and so what we're going to do is we're going to crawl the archive of a mailing list, and then we're going to do two visualizations. One is a activity visualization, and another is a word cloud. So,
is that the word cloud right there? Is this a word cloud? I guess so. Let's go.
It's probably the more important thing is when I do the demonstration of how the software works. So this is a large data set, so you got to be careful. This could spider gmain.org, which is a very free and friendly archive. This data originally came from gmain.org, but I've got a copy of it. And so gmain.org is not rate limited, but if everyone who is watching this starts spidering gmain.org at the same time, you will crash it.
What, like all 17 of us? All 17 of us? Come on now, Dr. Chuck. I'm sure it was popular back in the old days, though. Look, it's the last video. We might as well go take a little trip over to YouTube. It's the last video. 33,000 views. I guess that's a lot. 4 years ago, I guess.
Horsepower to give you this data is fast. And so I've got something that can give you the data super fast and has no rate limit on a really good server, and it's cached all around the world using a technology called Cloudflare. Okay. So please, please, please don't point this at gmain.org. Point this at the URL here, mboxdrchuck.net, et cetera, and then you can run this as fast as you like. Now, another thing to worry about is if you have a metered connection. So don't do this on a cell phone connection because you'll pay thousands of dollars perhaps. Make sure you run a no-cost connection before you start running this, because this is going to pull a lot of data down. If you just start...
Okay, my question right now is, okay, I can't, like, is it going to be like instant? Obviously not, because like it takes at least a couple minutes to get a gigabyte worth of data through the internet, right? I mean, unless you're going to have fiber, but I don't know. We'll see.
Start this from scratch. And you let it run.
We're not doing that.
On a super fast connection. Downloading the whole thing is probably about 4 hours. On my home connection, when I had like about a 10 megabit connection, it took several days. And so just understand that in this one, it's both fun to deal with a ton of data, and it's scary to deal with a ton of data. So this one is big. This one is, you'll see the process in action because it'll run for a while. The things will take a long time. So here,
he's getting real excited about it. That's not that much these days, over a gigabyte, right? I mean, even League of Legends is like 11 or 12 gigabytes these days. Whatever. I don't think we need to write this. I don't think we need to write this down. Let's go.
here's basically the flow of the data in this particular one. You are going to have the restartable spider that talks to the API, drchuck.net, which has a scalable copy of all this information.
Okay.
And again, it's going to do kind of a raw database, not a very clean database. It's sort of a mess. It's just enough columns to keep track of whether or not we've got this page or not. And so this has, the ones we've retrieved so far. And so what Gmain does is it sort of scans down to see where to retrieve next, gets that, and then starts scanning and then adding things here. So it just adds it, and then it blows up, and then it comes in again and says, okay, I'll start here, and then it starts retrieving stuff and fills this in, fills this in, fills this in. And sometimes you put like a delay in this so you don't overwhelm networks or don't overwhelm servers. But basically this is pretty much a raw retrieval of the email messages.
True.
And this file can get rather large. This is the one that's greater than a gigabyte. Now this data is actually really nasty. It's email data. The date format's changed. This is data that lasted from 2004 to like 2012 or 13. And so this data is got a lot of things wrong with it. It even has things where people's email addresses changed. And so it has this mapping file. This comes along with it. This mapping file that says, here's this one person, and here are the 6 email addresses that they used throughout the life of the project. And so there is a relatively complex, and so this part here is super slow, very slow. This part here is slow, but it'll take like, depending on how fast your computer is, somewhere between 2 minutes and 10 minutes. This first part will take days, perhaps, depending on the speed of your network connection.
It'll take
And so what Gmodel does is it reads through this. It actually recreates, it wipes this out and recreates index.sqlite every time it runs, so that you can change any number of things, you can respider things, you can do whatever. And often the cleanup, this is one of those cleanup processes, and you have to tweak the cleanup process. You like look at your data like, oh, the cleanup missed something, so I got to run it again. So this produces index.sqlite every time it runs. So this is like 2 to 10 minutes. Gmodel is 2 to 10 minutes. And it like maps names, and when it's all said and done, this is a very small, highly normalized, it's a nice data model. This one here had the Content SQLite has an ugly data model. Index.SQLite has a pretty data.
I can't even imagine sitting in meetings every single day and guys like him yapping with pictures like this on projectors, on walls by projectors, yapping away saying blah, 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 blah about stuff that he knows so much about that nobody reading this that has no idea what's going on is going to understand looking at this thing. It's almost like flowcharts are straight up made for the people that make them and not for the people that have to look at these and say, what the hell is going on here? Why do I got to follow this stupid ass flowchart? It is what it is. Let's keep going. It's the last video and we only got a few minutes left.
Data model. It's got foreign keys. It's got all this stuff. And all those things we talked about in the database where it's efficient. And so in your mind, keep track of how fast it is to scan all the data in a database with a bad model, and then watch when you run like gbasic, which is a scanner, or gline, which produces line data, or gword, and watch how fast they run. They run in like a couple of seconds at the most, and this runs in 2 to 10 minutes. And the difference is that's because the data is efficiently modeled in index.sqlite. So you can take a look at that using SQLite browser and take a look at the data model, and you'll see it looks just like the stuff we talked about in the database chapter. It's got foreign keys and all those things. And so that runs, and you got this, and then we do our visualizations and our analysis from this clean version of all the data. And so gbasic just loops through and prints some stuff out. It's a great way to test things.
Jesus. This guy literally, okay, this grabs the data. This is the data all dirty. This cleans the data. Here's the clean data. Then we can do this. We can do this. We can do this with it. We can do, after we run this program on it here, we can make a cloud. How hard is it? Why do you have to give it 50 million words for this does this, this does this, this does this, and then it hits this? We also have this just in case there's bad emails in here. We've got this over here too. We're going to run on this thing. Once this is clean, we've got this. And then we can do either this thing and have the basic thing. We can say gline.py and then have a gline.js and map it like this on a graph. Or we can make a word cloud right here. How hard is that? Look, I just did it, and this is the first time I've been hearing it, and I already know what's going to happen. Did I learn something? Is this me being smart and I learned something? Should I thank you, Chuck Severance? Because now I understand what your flowcharts are, and because you've said so many words that I have had to filter them out to figure it out myself. Well, thank you, Dr. Chuck.
Pretty easy to understand program, and you could take a look at it. Gline does some bucketing and makes some histograms to produce a line graph. And then GWord does a different histogram. It does a histogram of word frequency and then produces that as the word frequency ends up in gword.js. And then we have two HTML files that use the d3.js visualization to produce a line and a word chart. And so, you know, in another video, I will show you how this code works, which is probably more useful
cool.
than the picture.
Very much so.
But this is a whole bunch of good stuff.
Look at us panning out.
And if you really understand everything in here, you can build a pretty sophisticated data retrieval and analysis pipeline. And so that's it. I thank you for watching all these lectures, and look forward to seeing you on the net.
All right, Dr. Chuck. All right, Chuckles. I had a time, Dr. Chuck. I had a time, Severance. Old Chuck Severance. I had a time. Was it a good time? There was a lot of frustration. I tell you that much. There was a lot of frustration going through this lecture. But you know what? We made it to the end. I think that I understand his flowcharts now that I'll never see any more of them. And now we can do these ones, and there's that. So now we're on to exercise geodata. And actually, look, we're only going to do these in the live stream. So where's Codeman S? Codeman S, where you be? All right, let's go over here. Okay. So, as far as the lives go, it's going to be October 23rd on. I don't know when we'll stop. I better write it down in here where we're at on the lives. But anyway, regardless, that's where it's going to be starting. October 23rd is where these are going to be starting, because I'm not making videos of these. These are two. I mean, how many times do I have to get bamboozled into thinking this is going to work and it's not going to work for me to realize that this is unreliable? I'm going to tell you how many times. The time before this one. That's how many times. Anyway, regardless. So thank you for watching the series up to this point. And we're going to get on to something else. I don't know. I think we're going to go do some code wars after this. Like when it comes to official videos, we're going to do some Python code wars. And this is going to be like on Sunday. Today's Tuesday. We're going to start doing code wars on Sunday because we got to get through these. But that being said, thanks for coming here. We're going to do code wars next time, and we'll see you next time.